All right. So for me, it's probably a little bit different. So mine's on Figma Make prototype. So I'm sure the first thing you're asking is prototype. Why use a prototype tool when you can just vibe code anything with what you have, right? Probably the number one reason to use it, simply put, is easy sharing. Because the problem is if you vibe code something, trying to share it, especially with an external client, without babysitting it or having to share your screen and talk them through it, can be a challenge. So Figma Make, it's prototyping, just like a lot of other prototyping tools where you can use a prompt. Um, I use it in two different ways, kind of two different scenarios. So the first scenario is, I don't know, the quick and dirty, what I call like throwaway prototypes. So at 6 feet up, sometimes we deal on the sales end. The particular one we have up here, it was a small business. It was a financial planner. Sales met with him for like an hour, and he was using an Excel spreadsheet. Um, Figured out all the reasons not to use a spreadsheet, but he couldn't visually see what could be done with a web app. So sales came to me and said, "Can you spend 2 hours and create a prototype?" So I probably spent, I don't know, 3/4 of my time just watching the meeting, taking screenshots of his spreadsheet, trying to figure out what we were trying to accomplish and what we needed to do. And then I just took that information and went inside Figma Make and I don't know, 30 minutes created this. And I mean, there's code behind it and everything, which is kind of nice, but I mean, it's truly a prototype you can click through. Not everything works in it because I didn't have a whole lot of time, but from a sales perspective, it made their second call with them much more beneficial because now they could visually show them, like, here are some ideas you can do. The beauty of prototypes too is one, this one didn't end up working out for us, so we only lost 2 hours. But the beauty is everybody's visual, so being able to see something visually is perfect. Um, the flip side too is that we also have discovery projects where we actually get paid to build it. So there are lots of times, this is awesome. Yeah, hopefully it'll reconnect. Anyways, so I'll just keep talking. I'm good at that part. So, anyways, a lot of times we have projects where we do requirements gathering. I usually bring an engineer along with me, figure out what the problem is, get all the information. And then once we take it from there, engineering can go in their fun world and do the thing they love best, which is architecting, figuring out the tech stack they're going to use. And then somebody like me can go do my fun world where I can do user journeys, user story mapping, and then I can create a prototype. And from my perspective, the beauty is once I get this far enough along, I can set up a meeting with the customer, but I can send this to them in a link. It's a shareable link. You can put a password on it if you want, but all they have to do is click it. It opens in a browser and they can literally play. So if I send it to them 2 to 3 days ahead of time, they can play it with it in isolation on their own time. So by the time we get to the meeting, they already have their list of things they love and they hate about it. So the meeting I'm going to have is so much more beneficial because I'm not showing them for the first time and they're watching me do it. They've already clicked through it and figure out what works and what doesn't. Um, the other part of it too, Figma Make itself, they have this functionality they call a make kit. It's like a template. And the beauty of it, when you create a make kit, if you have a Figma design library, you can load it in so you get consistency, you get the same look and feel. You can also use an NPM library, whether it's private or public. So if you want to use Material UI or some framework like that, you can. And then you can use, they're called guideline files. You can think of them as an agent.md file where you can basically guide Figma Make how you want to create stuff. What are your rules for layout, your UI, UX rules, but also how you like code. Because at the very end, when I'm done, the benefit of this is I can come in here and just say create repository, and it'll create a brand new repo with all the backend code. I'll show it to you. It'll create all the back-end code that it created. So now your front-end engineers don't have to start from scratch. And so by creating a make kit, you're going to get consistency. And hopefully, if you design it right, you'll get something that's close to production that they can use. I mean, they still have to use the router and everything to hook it up. But at least in our case, your production repo is usually a separate repo from this because if it usually scaffolded out and backend may already start working in there. but now front end can grab these React components and make use of them. And if I go into the makeup and make any changes, I can click dump to the repo and it just updates the repo in real time. So especially I've done that at first, like as soon as the customer signs off, 2 days later, like, oh, here's 10 other things we forgot about. So I can go in there and update it, or even mid-project, things change. And you may have to make some changes. I can go into the mock-up, change it. Now the devs see that. The last thing I'll say, I've gotten a lot of feedback from devs. They prefer the prototype over static Figma files for two reasons. If you've ever used a Figma design file, it's not very user-friendly to find information, to figure out, well, what color is this? Because even I struggle on where to find it. In here, it's just code. That's what you're used to looking up, so it's easy to find. Um, the other thing too is the other big advantage this has over it is with a Figma static files, you can kind of sort of understand the behavior or the workflow that's supposed to happen, but in a prototype, they can literally click through it and understand, hey, if I click this button, this, and this is supposed to happen, and they'll see it happen in a mock-up instead of trying to sort of get that through a static file. So that's it.
Very much, David.
Thank you.
Any questions for David? Any Figma Make questions in the room? Oh, we got it on here.
Yeah.
It might be just a quick question but how do you, like, can you explain how it is different from Adobe, how
How am I using Figma Make?
it, like, uh, I may be sounding very newbie to this, but yeah, so soon we are going to use this Figma and Adobe. That's what
Okay, Adobe has a competing product. You're asking how different it is from Adobe?
Adobe for like the digital content on the marketing side. Content creation, the UI design content creation.
As far as UI design, content creation, um, not sure I'm completely understanding the question. Are you?
Yeah. I think that's for like a competing product, how that differentiated, I think are like.
Oh, I got you. So, yeah, to me, I mean, there's Figma Make. I think there's Bolt, there's Lovable, VO. There's all kinds of prototype tools out there. And to me, they're very much like the difference between Chat, GPT, and Claude. They're all very similar. And as soon as one has a feature, the other ones have it short enough after that. So we just happen to use Figma Make because it's part of Figma, which we already had, but they all work very similarly in what you get.
Now, did both Adobe and Figma.
Do I think Claude will surpass it? Claude actually came out with Claude Design, which we started playing with, and it's a little bit different than what this is. At least from what I understand, it's more for creating slides and stuff. You can create prototypes, but I guess they're coming at a different angle than some of these prototyping tools. Um, I find benefit in these, especially if you have people that are non-technical. They're easy to use because, in essence, just like you see down here, it's just a prompting tool. So once you get good at figuring out how to prompt it, it's really not much different than Claude or ChatGPT, really. And in reality, if I have a multi-page app, I tend to start in Claude and have it create the first prompt. So I don't waste credits in here and telling it to go and then seeing, oh, that's not what I wanted. So I tend to use Claude first just because I can have a back and forth and make sure it's what I was after first. Hope that answers your question. Okay.
How do you do the hooks to like the real data and connections around? It's just like typing out or other stuff.
I mean, there's a Supabase connection you can do in here. Usually for me, when I do them, I just create mock data within it. I don't actually hook it up to anything. I just create some have it create mock data within itself.
Okay, but I'm referring not too much to the data, but maybe you have bios that move you to different like screens and things like that. How do you do those interactions?
Oh, like these and stuff?
Yeah, and then I saw you the other you have like buttons that shows like other stuff.
Yeah, it's, I mean, it's just when you prompt it, like when this one I told it I wanted a sidebar, and here's the three things I want on the sidebar. And then usually if I have a multi-page thing, I usually we use Google, so I create a Google Doc and I just kind of write out like, here's the page, here's what I want on the page, or here's my idea. The nice thing about this is you don't have to be super specific. You don't even have to know what the component is. You just have to say like, I want a drop down or I want a way to select this here. So um, that's one of the nice things is, like I say, you don't have to be a UI UX person. You just kind of have to give it an idea of what you want, and it's smart enough to figure it out. Especially on this one, since I hooked up a design library, it knows which components to use based on what I tell it.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I assume we're just leaving it like just do it.
Yeah, yeah. It's all mock data just because it's simple. Any other questions? All right. Thank you.